Doctor, it's great to have you. I was struck by the White House COVID czar yesterday who said that deliveries should begin sometime next week and then the bulk of them in the coming weeks. Is that a reasonable timeline?
No, thank you for having me on. It's right now, I think the issue is the demand predictability has been off the charts, right? And I think that really is the issue. I mean, you could start supplying next week. The question is the quantity, right? Is there enough numbers here to meet the demand? And I think that's the big question mark. And I suspect the answer is no.
Yeah. One of the complaints, or I guess one of the explanations for why we find ourselves in such a deficit, one argument has been made of that is that the shelf life of the test itself make it difficult to stockpile months in advance. How valid is that?
That's a reasonable assumption. I think the shelf life for code antigen tests, it's about 6 to 9 months. So it certainly plays a role. But I do think the bigger issue here is demand predictability, right? I think when you have a 50% swing in demand quarter on quarter, it's very hard to plan your manufacturing production facilities. And I think that really is the heart of the issue here.
Vijay, I'm curious about the accuracy piece of the puzzle. I mean, my family had COVID over Christmas. My kids had diagnoses. I was full-blown symptoms. 2 at-home tests, Binax, I should note, that were negative. And it wasn't until I got the PCR test that it finally came back positive. I've been hearing about some false positives as well. I'm just curious, do we have insights yet into how accurate some of these at-home tests are where Omicron is concerned? And if the accuracy is spotty, is that going to dent demand?
No, it's a great question. I think this whole accuracy debate, there are several elements to this, right? I think one is these tests are really good as a rule out, right? Because of their high specificity. When you get a negative result, I think you can rely on them more. On the sensitivity, the EUA labels have them somewhere in the 90s, right? Mid-90s sensitivity. But I suspect similar to other traditional rapid antigen tests, sensitivity perhaps is in the 80s. So you do have a 10-15% perhaps drop off, and there is that issue. And that's true for all antigen tests, rapid antigen tests. I think the third element here is just because you get something positive, right, what is the clinical value utility of a positive result, I think is an issue, right? I mean, one could argue the inverse. For a PCR test, if you're picking up very low viral loads, is that clinically relevant? I think is a question. So there are many angles here, but I think antigen test, the best use case is as a rule out as against a positive rule in.
Dr. Vijay Kumar, we'll talk about the shares themselves maybe at a future date. They clearly have come off a bit off of that run, the tail end of last year. Thanks so much.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.